Welcome back to Division I Rejects, episode 125, September 4th. We did a lot of previewing last week, Trev. We're going to do a lot of recapping today.
Indeed.
Fun.
Yes.
Fun stuff today.
Football. Fun.
Football. Two guests for you tonight. Antonio Clark, the columnist from D2 Football. He's focused on the RMAC, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Kobe, why would you want to have the RMAC insider on the show today? What do you think?
Maybe because one of the greatest games of possibly the year was last night. Not last night, a couple nights ago.
Whittley. Yeah.
Whittley.
A team that goes by the Donkeys. Just kidding. Even though their mascot is one Blaster, I think his name is.
Yeah.
You see that?
He is a donkey.
They're the Ore Diggers. But
Yeah,
Mines and GV, we're going to talk a lot about them today. Number 4 versus number 2, that game was incredible. Otherwise, though, we've got quarterback Mike Hohensee from Northwest Missouri State. They had a big win. They're number 5 in the country. Big win over Missouri Southern, MIAA opponent. So we'll talk to Mike later on in the episode. Stick around for both of those. If you want to get right to those conversations right now, have me shut up. Use the timestamp spot on the screen, the chapters on YouTube. If you're listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, those will be listed in the description below. Fast forward to any part of the show. Otherwise, we had 3 Division II teams with wins over FCS opponents. Not only that, they were all HBCUs. So pretty big time. I will say, maybe not the most quality of opponents, but D2 over D1.
It's still like you think about scholarship-wise.
Absolutely.
Like that shouldn't happen. Like D2 should not 3 D2s in the same weekend beating D1s.
And there might be more this week, and there potentially should have been more this past week when you look at some of the games in the schedule. But we'll go over those games a little bit as well. Trevor, we've got some headlines for today. Jim Harbaugh is dead. A team scored 96 points in week 1, and a quarterback threw 7 touchdowns.
Hell of a weekend of football.
It just sounds like another week of football to me, to be honest with you.
Rip Harbaugh. Just kidding.
Go ahead and throw him up one time. There you go. But as always, if you want to listen to that stuff, see what the hell we're talking about, I'm sure you already know, but fast forward any portion of that episode. You can watch the episode on YouTube. You can listen pretty much anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. 2 great guests today. I enjoyed both the conversations with those guys very much. Follow us on Twitter. Hit us up on Instagram. See highlights from the show on both those platforms. Do not forget to subscribe on the YouTube. Otherwise, no more dilly-dallying. Dilly-dallying. I made it into one word. No more of it, whatever the hell it is. Let's get right to the conversation with Antonio. Joining the show tonight, a former Maverick, Colorado Mesa, where he played in the secondary. Now, though, on the other side of things, the RMAC columnist for D2Football.com, it's Antonio Clark. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Happy to talk some D2 football tonight.
Pumped, man. Not just any D2 football, probably the biggest week 1 matchup that I can remember in, I don't even know how long. Grand Valley goes out to Mines in a game where a lot of question marks were kind of surrounding that one. Obviously, 2 great teams from the prior year, hence those rankings. But Mines walks out of that one. I shouldn't say walks, maybe barely gets out of that one with that last-second field goal. Grand Valley, dude. And we said on the pod, and we were recording the night of, we said if anyone can pull this comeback off when they're down 28-7, it'll be these guys. They almost pulled it off, man.
It was an amazing atmosphere. It was an amazing game. The way I've been describing it, the way I described it when I was talking about it, previewing it, it's a heavyweight fight. They're 2 of the best teams in the nation. Grand Valley with their size, just that style of football, that really physically imposing style of football, counteracting Mines who had just played Ferris in the national championship and didn't show as well against a GLIAC opponent. For Mines to escape, I'll say, was still very impressive to me.
Absolutely.
Grand Valley showed a lot of heart coming back. For being there for a while, I thought Mines was going to bust it open. I thought it was going to be like a blowout for a period of time. I thought they'd do it, but Grand Valley came back. Their quarterback, he had a game.
He did.
He was under a lot of duress the entire game, but he made plays. He found guys. He extended. It was really impressive. Like that's exactly what I expected when I was on my way to the game.
Absolutely. And before we get into more of it, first year with D2 football, I wanted to lead with that for you. What's that been like? Obviously, it's not your first time being around the game. Like, I'm not an idiot. But being around in this capacity, you've worked in the news setting before. I got to imagine this is just exciting to be around it in this form.
Oh, it's it's such a blessing, like I used to watch these guys do these shows like
Hell
back
yeah.
when I was in college. Like I remember actually being pissed off like my senior year that I wasn't an All-American on their list.
Yeah.
I was actually really pissed about it. But no, it's been a blessing. They're really cool guys. They've been doing this for years. They know a lot of things. There's a lot of insight that they provide and help me out, like learning more around the nation. But it's been great. I look forward to it. I love getting on the message board and interacting with the fans. Like I even used to do that back in college. Like see what shit the fans are talking on the message board and whatnot.
I love it. Yeah, but you're talking all about Cade Peterson, and his night was all over the place. The big storyline this offseason, he loses his top 2 pass catchers to frickin' Power 5 programs, and the big question is, who steps in to take their place? How do you continue to make those kind of plays when you lose that type of skill? Now, Grand Valley, obviously, in a position where they can reload, and we saw a little bit of that, took the offense a little bit to get settled in. You mentioned it, though. He was under duress for a lot of that game. Mines comes out with, I believe, 4 sacks. They're getting back there, pressuring him. His ability to extend plays was really impressive, especially when sometimes the rushing attack was not there for the Lakers. He was their leading rusher. And when you look at out of that backfield, someone that I was just a stat I was really surprised about, Tariq Reed, basically a non-factor in this one, which is just astounding. 7 carries, 4 yards from a guy who I think I would put in the conversation, one of the best, if not the best back in our conference. And you look at a national level, for him to have that impact on a game was super surprising. So I think that's just a kudos to the defensive front from Mines, if anything.
Mines' front 7 is insane. It's loaded. Nolan Reeve, like with COVID giving all these guys, the more years and more time to play, they got a lot of like seasoned vets that have played a ton of games. Nolan Reeve, I forget his name. I believe it's Cade Peterson, number 97. There's some dogs. Their linebacking core, Healy went off. Adrian Marino's been an all-conference guy. And I'll just keep harkening back to that national championship game, like them going up, getting a taste of like that top tier GLIAC, even though they had played Grand Valley earlier in the season last year and barely lost to them. I just think every year Mines takes another step forward. You know what I mean? Every year, if they get beat that next year, they're not going to get beat the same way. They're not going to get out physical. You know what I mean? And I think they were out to prove that, and they definitely did it. Where I think Mines is going to have some trouble possibly is on the back end. They lose a Mason Pierce, an All-American DB. They still got a lot of vets back there. Cam Forrest is back there. Jaden Williams, they got guys back there, but it showed some of the youth. Some of those plays where some of those guys got behind him, like some of them were bad, in my opinion. I'm not sure his name on Grand Valley. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Cody Thierny.
Okay, yeah, I know you're
talking about. Number 5.
Yeah.
He was getting behind those guys, making huge plays, and I'm like, how is this guy getting that open? So I think Mines has some things that they can plug up, but I think their front 7 was extremely impressive because, like you said, the running game was non-existent except for the quarterbacks scrambling.
Yeah, that was it, and I'm right with you on that. And the GVSU defense, where their offense did lose a couple big playmakers. Now they did lose arguably their best player in the defensive secondary on the side of GVSU, but they brought back a lot within the box. I think that showed because when you're able to hold that offense of Mines, I mean, Matoka still very much the guy after week 1. I mean, we don't need to crown him again after week 1, but if you can do it against that defense, you can do it against a lot of people. I'm excited to see what him and McLeod, man. What the hell?
McLeod is. I've been saying it for years because I played in the RMAC and I immediately was just I love D2 football, so I've been following it and I've been seeing all these guys grow up. I've been saying it for years since 2021 when I saw McLeod the first time he was getting tick. I think he was a redshirt freshman. He's just different. Like he's fast. He's fast as fuck. He has the burners. Like I know there's a misconception about like white receivers, being like, more technique guys. He has the burners. He can run with the best of them. So that, along with the coaching, their receiver coach, Coach Diedrich there is amazing. Like if you look at Mines through the years, like since 2016, they've had like 4 or 5 2,000-yard career receivers. Like, just in a row. McLeod's just the next in line, and having seen them all play, I'd say he's the most athletic.
Okay.
So like, he just goes off. Like, dude, I don't even think he had his best game. He still went for like 150 the other day.
Absolutely.
Like he didn't get in the end zone. He had a drop or so. Like, I expect him as the season goes on to just play bigger and bigger. And there's not a Josh Johnson there, still looks from him. He's that guy that Matoka is going to want to go to whenever, he's under fire.
I think that's the most impressive part is like, where he's going with it and you're still able to do that. Now, that's like the measuring stick of a great passing game or just team in general. If you can't stop it, even though you know it's coming. And like you said, he's just the next one in a long line of super talented receivers. Also, by the way, they're making bread as soon as they graduate. Did you see that stat from them? It was like $93,000 on entry-level jobs, just the receiving core.
Dude, I grew up in Colorado, so like I talked to Mines coaches when I was in high school. I didn't take it as serious because I was like, yeah, I'm not a nerd. I don't think I would have the chops academically to go, but like now that I'm a grown man, I think it's one of the dumbest decisions I ever made. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like $100K out the door.
It's
that's
unreal.
Insane. That's insane.
Working at the news station doesn't exactly stack up right there.
Jesus Christ. Not a fraction of that.
Oh, no, but that is great. And I mean, just more recently, talk about that in particular over in, is it Toronto right now? Making some plays over there in the CFL?
Oh yeah, he got his first, he made his debut tonight. I believe he had 4 tackles, Mason Pearson. It was so dope seeing him just grow over the years. Like I remember like even seeing his body grow, like seeing him go from little scrawny freshman kids to like big buff seniors. Like it's cool seeing their progression, seeing them grow. He had a great year last year and he's parlayed that into like an opportunity. He's making the most of it. Yeah. That's the thing about playing at the next level. Like you get an opportunity, you got to make the most of it because this is like there's so many players, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But mine's their offense as well, like not just the receivers, even though Zeman's out of there and you think like how are you going to replace an All-American and one of the greatest guys ever, like their running backs now just they present a different threat. They have more speed, they're more elusive. Like Roper, he's a Colorado kid that played at Dartmouth. He's nasty.
Yep.
And he's physical, big. Like I know you saw that touchdown run where he bucked the dude. He ran him over for the touchdown. Like I think Mines is just a machine that's there. I don't think they're going anywhere.
No, I'm going to agree with you. And definitely excited to see what they do as they move going forward. Another team with a big-time Week 1 performance, that being Pueblo, under their new head coach, Coach Vigil over there. They make the trip to Allendale this week to play Grand Valley at home. So GV's getting the best of both worlds. Now at least they don't have to take the plane ride out to Colorado. Now, what did you see from those guys against Midwestern State in Week 1?
Pueblo's defense is insane. Like it's led by the back end. The back end is fire. They have 3 guys that could probably like Daniel Bone's already been an All-American, but Corey and Eli, they probably will. Like the trajectory they're starting on, each of them had a turnover in the first half of the game. I'm super huge fans of those guys over there just because Coach Vigil, he was like actually a coach at Mesa when I first went there, so I know him personally.
Okay, I didn't know that.
A lot of that coaching staff. The DB coach there was my DB's coach in college, so I know like what he's teaching them, his philosophies and stuff. And that's on top of the stuff that they already knew. Like Pueblo has a long line. The same way I talk about the Mines receivers, Pueblo kind of has that with DBs. Like if you look at the RMAC through the years and know the history of it, those guys are insane. And I don't think Pueblo up front is as dominating as they were before. But when your back end is so good, they work in tandem. If your back end is really good and can really cover, then your D-line's going to have more time to get home to the quarterback. And their defense is amazing. Their offense, I think for me personally, it left a little bit to be desired as far as running the ball. I'm used to Pueblo being a kind of like similar to the Grand Valleys and Ferris States, being a physically imposing team that can run the ball. Like over time, they've incorporated the pass more, but still, like they always come out and they're just a hard-nosed team. I don't think they ran the ball as well as I would have liked to see, but Chance Fuller looks good. He was efficient. They got a nice receiving core. Their receiving core is really good. And the one thing on their offense that I would say as far as the running game improving as well too is I do think their quarterback was under pressure a little bit. I think he took some hits. You know, like I was taking photos. I got some pictures of him getting blasted. You know, you just don't want to see that. You don't want to see your quarterback taking hits, like whether they're actual sacks or just QB hits over the course of a game. Those add up, and I think any quarterback gets rattled if you keep consistent pressure on them.
Absolutely. I mean, those all feel the same, whether it's a sack or a hit. Those are usually not going to feel great. You mentioned Bone in the back end there. He's going to be a guy for them in that secondary. And then that's not a surprise. Like, we knew that coming into this year, but having some other guys step up in that secondary as well. 2 interceptions they had, neither of them came from Bone himself. So that's going to be big time. Like you said, the way those two complement each other. You talk a little bit about like a coverage sack type of situation or disrupting plays in the backfield and forcing maybe some off-target throws or some off-cadence throws. But otherwise, looking around rest of the conference, who else do we need to be watching in the RMAC? I know Western Colorado is probably a team that's up there. How about you guys over at Mesa, even though, you know, trying to fill the shoes of Carson Hunter right now, who picked up a big win with IUP in their season opener?
The way the conference would stack up for me after week 1, I'd keep Western at 3rd. I'd give them the nod. I think it was a huge win, beating West Texas. Although you do got to take into account that West Texas, you know, they're getting a new coach. You know, he's rebuilding that program and whatnot. But it was still impressive how they won. I was really impressed with Black Hills. Black Hills lost, but if you watch their game against St. Thomas, like, they played with him all game, you know, like that was a good competitive game. So I was happy to see that from Black Hills. So I have Black Hills in that mix with Western. SD Mines, when you got a quarterback in college football, you got a chance. And Jaden Johansson, he's a baller. I was worried about them replacing they had 2 crazy receivers last year. Like Isaiah Eastman went for 1,000. Jeremiah Bridges went for 1,000. Like they had 2 insane receivers, and they both got out there. Eastman went up to NAU, and I think Bridges ran out of eligibility.
Okay.
But they got a transfer from Minnesota or Northern State, I want to say. He went for 153 and 2 touchdowns. So I'm like, okay, if he has a guy, you know, that may be they may still be in it. But Mesa, man, I was disappointed, but I'm not surprised. You know, Mesa's still growing. They got so many young players, you know, like they're still rebuilding the whole program and whatnot. And they're still doing the 2-man dance at quarterback. Like, you know, if you're playing 2 guys and you're not like giving one guy, like just going behind him, I don't really think you have a guy. Like if you have 2 quarterbacks, I think you don't really have one. In my opinion,
and that's interesting because looking at, you know, spring ball, like Carson was out of there before spring ball. So those guys had a chance, you know, the guys who were there at least to compete for that job. So obviously coming out of that, they must have not felt 100% confident one way or the other, even through camp, and just felt that they needed to give both guys a chance. How long, obviously it's not ideal to continue to do that, but how long is it until there really is a time where, hey, whether it's right decision or wrong, you just need to embrace someone and have them be the guy for the offense?
Yeah, you gotta just pick and choose and just ride or die with the guy. You know what I mean? As long as you're switching, I know most coaches think that their offenses they're just seamless. You can just plug in any player and just run it. And that's just really not how it works on the field. Like offenses, play calling has to be tailored to a guy's strengths. They have 2 different quarterbacks right now. Gavin he's somewhat similar to Carson. He's a really athletic kid. You know, he's more a football player than a quarterback. Okay. You know, like, and then their other guy, I'm losing his name right now. He's a young kid. He transferred in from Pueblo, but their offensive coordinator was his high school coach, Coach Stanell.
Gotcha.
Leslie Richardson. He got some burn. Those were the 2 guys that played in the game. Leslie, you know, he's a different guy. He's a pocket passer. He's going to sit in the pocket and fire, you know. So I think they got to pick one and then tailor the offense specifically to that guy's strength, to that guy's strengths. And then the other thing they got to get going is the run game. Their run game, if you can pull up the statistics, I don't know if you got a laptop right now. Their run game was putrid. It was putrid, and I'm like, if you can't run the ball and take some pressure off the quarterback, it's going to be hard for them. Defenses can just pin their ears back and get after it.
Yeah.
And you know, Leslie, he's young. That was his first like real game action. So I still think he was kind of impressive. His stat line wasn't pretty. You know, he threw 2 picks, but one of them, it was just he threw something late. And I would imagine, you know, the speed of the game is a little different. I think he came out, I think his senior year was 2020, the COVID year. So like he hasn't played football. He hasn't played in a game in 3 years. And to go from high school games and high school speed to
Gonna be a little rust, man. It's just inevitable. And that rushing attack, like you said, putrid's a pretty good word for it. 28 net yards on 20 attempts. That's not ideal, obviously, in any means of the sense. But only up from here, I'm assuming for them, like you said, a lot of growth to be had there, a lot of young players, a lot of new faces. I'm sure they'll get things figured out over there.
I was impressed with their defense, though. Their defense, last year, their secondary didn't have a pick. Game 1, little Cash Bradley, he was one of those true freshmen that played last year. Got himself a pick, got his hands on something. Who was the linebacker? Hudson Metcalf. He forced a fumble and recovered it on the quarterback. So they forced some turnovers. If you really looked at the game, they didn't get scored on very much. I think they gave up some touchdowns. I think they gave up 1 touchdown at the end, but there was a pick 6. Punt was blocked and returned for a touchdown.
Yeah, that's big.
There was a kick return. You know what I mean? So the defense held strong. They did their thing. So the offense just has to get it figured out. Keenan, I don't think they use Keenan Brown enough personally. Keenan Brown, if you saw like on my Instagram, I have it posted on my story, but he was going up against like an all-conference guy, the guy that was picked as the LSC preseason defensive player of the year. He cooked him. Had a lovely diving catch. Like, he's a downfield big play receiver, and I think they should get him involved more in their offense, and I think it'll bode well for him moving forward.
I love it, man. And that was kind of the case with Northwood Glenville State this week. It was something where their defense technically held up pretty well. You get the final score, though, and you're like, there's no way. But then a fumble return for a touchdown, an interception return for a touchdown, special teams play, and then you're like, this game just got kind of unfolded in some interesting ways. But, Antonio, man, I appreciate you. I know this will not be the last time we have you on here. I'm pumped to continue that, dude. But, hey, first time has been a blast. So thank you very much. That's all I've got for you tonight, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Have a good one. Appreciate Antonio coming on. Just like I said, will not be the last time he's on this show. He was fantastic. And it's nice because as people who we kind of have an overview of D2, D3, NAIA football, we don't get to have the luxury of going super in-depth for a lot of different teams because it's so hard. Yeah. It's nice to have someone who can provide those details. Like, he was pulling names out of his ass. Like, this guy, big contributors. And I'm like, I knew about half of them, but even then, I just kind of know him on a surface level. He watches these guys play week in and week out, so having that insight, I think, is going to be super valuable for us moving forward. Otherwise, though, let's talk about some week 1 games. We've already talked about GVSU and Mines ad nauseum. We'll leave them out of this conversation. A really solid game, Trevor. Notre Dame College versus Ohio Dominican. This one ended up being real solid, and it was at, I believe this is at Notre Dame. Notre Dame comes out on top, 23-21. They were behind. I think it was 16. It looks like it was 16-7 going into the half. End up scoring a couple tuds in the second half and come out on top of this one. I guess the biggest numbers right off the rip here. Both offenses, decent days, not crazy days. This definitely was more of a defensive defined game. You look at a team like Ohio Dominican. We talked about last week how we thought their offense should be really proficient with their starting quarterback coming back. Now, he did lose his top 2 targets. 200 passing yards for the day for them and 100 on the ground. So pretty well balanced, but not anything spectacular. Notre Dame's defense, I believe, has been the talk of kind of that conference. They certainly have been on top of it. That's the MEC, correct?
I believe so.
You're
more the expert than me, but
I
believe that's what it's called.
I believe that's MEC, and then Ohio Dominican obviously coming over from the GMAC, so a really strong out-of-conference game to be scheduled there. And, this one, looking at some of the key contributors, quarterback for Notre Dame, Isaiah Murphy, man, 15 for 27, 225 yards and a tud. He did take 3 sacks, so that was something that you have to pay attention to. But Jake Bird, the starter for Ohio Dominican, only threw for 120. He actually didn't even play the whole game. I have to see if he was injured or otherwise because Drew Gallahue came in.
He played well.
Threw 9 passes, 79 yards. So pretty balanced. We'll see kind of how that situation goes moving forward. They had a 100-yard rusher on the ground in Jonzel Norrells, from ODU. And, probably a lot of good to take out of both these games. Like when you talk about a GVSU versus a Mines, you're talking about two teams that are really evenly matched, and the game is decided within 3 points. Like you can't take away, you can't come out of that game saying, "Hey, my team's the best," or "Oh my gosh, we suck." Right? Like there's not any crazy takeaways, I believe, to be had from this. Defensively, we had said it. ODU, they got after the Falcons over there defensively. 3 sacks for them on the day. Michael Powers, 14 total tackles.
Wow.
For Powers.
Well, both teams had 3 sacks.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, looking at the box score here, and it was kind of the same thing with the Mines GV game. Incredibly balanced. And you would assume, usually with a game that's that close, the box score would be balanced. Not always the case, right? Like, you definitely could have other teams that, just have the stats and just can't follow through. Northwest Missouri State, you look at their game and how close that was with Missouri Southern. We're going to talk about them in a little bit later. The Bearcats dominated the box score. The time of possession was 34 minutes to 20. They barely held on for that one on the road, had to come back and get a late victory over there. So box score is certainly not always everything. That is what we're going to be looking at today for the most part.
Both teams punted 7 times, so definitely a defensive battle.
7 each?
Yeah.
Woo!
But little stat for you.
Yeah. What you got for me?
And Notre Dame College, their punter punted for 322 yards, while ODU's punter only punted for 247 yards. That's pretty big. It really is a pretty big difference.
It absolutely is, especially when you punt 7 times.
Yeah,
that's wild. We can move on though, and I guess the next team that I wanted to talk about a little bit, that being Indianapolis. Their first matchup, I was going to say first round matchup. Their first matchup of the year is against Hillsdale. A pretty good crossover, GMAC to GLVC crossover. Indianapolis comes out on top. The Greyhounds, 39-20 against Hillsdale there. And, a big play after big play kind of game, it seemed like. And they only got better as the quarters move on. You listen to the point spread here. 6 in the first, 9 in the second, 10 in the third, and 14 in the fourth. Their offense was absolutely relentless against Hillsdale. And that's, Hillsdale was a team that last year had their ups and downs and was a little bit inconsistent, but then they'd come out and have the game of their lives every once in a while. They upset Ashland.
Yeah, they were a consistently competitive team all year, though. If I remember right.
Yeah. Yeah, they absolutely were. The second half for Indianapolis was when they came alive. Looking here, 307 of their 502 total yards came after halftime. Defense limited Chargers to just 6 points in the second half. So this one really close, 15-14 at the half. Indy comes out and just dominates the second half, scoring 24. And, some of the bigger plays here, looks like Sukup found Alonzo Derrick, 78-yard tud late in the third.
Can I mention Alonzo Derrick's game stats?
Please do. Well, there's a 78-yarder right there, so let's hear that.
7 receptions for 170 and 2 touchdowns.
Ooh!
That's a game right there.
That's like 3 games.
Yeah. And then they had another receiver that was over 100 yards receiving, too.
Was it Kobe Lewis?
It was.
Kobe Lewis. He had a 55-yard catch and run to help seal the deal, I believe, in the fourth quarter. Damn! Okay, Indy. They've got Wayne State next week, so...
Which Wayne State?
We'll see. Wayne State, our Wayne State University, Michigan. Detroit.
The D
Wayne State. But pretty crazy, man. Big interception, too, from them. Kevontae Houston. 29-yard return on that midway through they had, in the recap here, by the way, they say the second period. Come on, Indy, be better.
Those Greyhounds.
The second period, the second quarter. But that's big time, though, because Hillsdale driving at that point, trying to take advantage, and to have a turnover at that point of the game. Really big. Michael Brown, we talked about him earlier. He's a preseason All-American guy we're probably going to hear a lot about. They had a blocked punt as well. Indy did. So talk about offense, defense, special teams. 3 phases. We fence.
I might walk out right now. Like, I can't believe you just said that. I can't wait to talk about Jim Harbaugh later in the show. Rest in peace, though. Rest in peace. It's we fence.
I love it, man. That's good. That's good. Let me rifle through some other scores around Division II here, because I know we did not really get to all of them on our last episode. It was a weird week because we're recording on Thursday night. Jimmy and I are just sitting here talking, and we've got scores like live coming in, and it was hard to kind of keep track. But some notable ones for sure. Assumption gets the better half of Kutztown, 31-20. That was a big game. Assumption picked second in that conference in the NE10, but a lot of people have them ranked higher than New Haven in their preseason polls. So a big out-of-conference win.
Someone ranked them in the top 25, didn't they? Assumption?
I believe, like right around that 24-25 mark, right?
Someone did. I don't remember who it was, but...
Yeah. And they're going to have... I'll have to look. Let me find their actual schedule here. But we know they're going to have a really good test here in a couple weeks. I believe 2 weeks from now, correct? When they go and play... Is it at Grand Valley?
It's at Grand Valley, yeah.
It's tough that environment. One's going to be a test. Yeah.
Probably not used to that. Seeing a lot of the teams in the NE10.
No.
Probably not. A little different atmosphere.
Absolutely. They're at Southern Connecticut State next week, which actually is going to be a great contest, and then they're at Grand Valley State. Southern Connecticut, a team that admittedly not making a lot of noise the last couple years, they gave it all to Shepherd this last week. Remember looking at that score, I believe that was, I'll double check here.
It was a 1-point game, I think.
I think it was 26-27.
Yeah.
But look, I'll go down the list a little bit more. Augustana looked really good in their opener, 38-7 against Mary, their home opener. They talk about three phases: offense, defense. They had a huge kick return, or a punt return, for like 80-some yards.
I wonder when
ridiculous.
New Haven and Assumption play.
They play. I can tell you actually, dude. They play. It's the third to the last week of the year, so week 8.
I bet they'll be like, that's what that.
That's like our anchor bone, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a huge game. Like,
it will be.
Probably will decide who wins the NE10.
Oh, I would assume so. Westchester 2019 over Bentley. That was a really good contest. We had Texas A&M Kingsville came out 30-10 over Colorado Mesa. Mesa still a lot of. We talked about them a little bit with Antonio. Still a lot of things to figure out.
Are we
going to
mention another Texas team? What they did?
Midwestern State. We talked about Pueblo a good amount with Antonio, but who do you have in mind?
Not Midwestern State. They struggled a bit. Maybe a team. I don't know if we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We absolutely can. Is this time to talk about that?
I think it's time. I want to talk about it. I've been thinking about it.
Oh, the team that we're talking about is the University of Texas Permian Basin. And, Kobe, what the hell is that? Let me just show you this number, and you're going to understand exactly why we're talking about UTPB. Holy shit.
They scored 96 points. This isn't basketball. This is football. We talk about football here.
96 points is absolutely absurd. Like, I don't even understand. And what's crazy, too, is I believe they were on the opponent's 26-yard line and finally took a knee in victory formation to finish the game. They could have had an 100-piece. So at that point, why the hell not?
That makes me think that they probably did not, like, they weren't trying to run up the score either. Like, I'm sure they put in their backups and...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, not only did they score 96, they pitched a shutout on the other end of it as well.
Yeah, 96-0.
Oh, my gosh.
They played Texas College?
I don't know, actually.
I think they're an NAIA.
It was an NAIA team.
I think they're called Texas College, which I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
I'm also not from Texas, so that might help.
You are indeed not from Texas. It was Texas College.
Yep.
You're correct. It was the orange out game for the boys.
Well, they showed up.
Yeah, the orange was
They showed up in a big way.
They're going to have a great test next week. That being Western Colorado, who just picked up a quality win over West Texas A&M. They have to go up to Colorado for that game. I'm excited to see that.
That'll be interesting, too, because, like, some teams, like, when they get a big win like that, they don't approach the next week as well as they should. You know what I mean?
I would assume. I mean, they know what they're getting themselves into with that Western Colorado squad.
Still,
but you never know. Yeah.
You're not there. Like,
yep. Yeah.
Sometimes the focus can be a little bit off. Like, we just won 96-0. How do you?
Yeah. I mean, we get to play someone else next week. Sure, let's put up 80 on them. Like, whatever. Yeah. That's great, man. Back in GLIAC, Davenport. They're sit at number 24 right now. They had their way with Thomas More, 31-17. I think the score, the Davenport offense kind of did what they wanted. It looked like in that game.
Wasn't there a couple late scores by?
From Thomas More.
From Thomas More, yeah. I thought it seemed like it was not much of a game because we were watching some of it, weren't we?
We were, yeah. And shout out to our guy, our sponsored athlete, Preston Smith. back from an ACL injury, had 2 tuds, played some big-time snaps in that one. So, especially when you see someone coming off an injury and, like, be back and be super explosive like that, like, really good yards after the catch, really good hands.
It would be funny if anytime we, like, mentioned the D1R athlete, you could, like, adjust the cameras really quick and just, like, boop.
On the little
just,
flag.
like, zoom in on them really quick.
I would love to figure that out. These cameras are annoying to mess with.
Yeah,
That'd
I know
be
they
sick.
are, but
That'd
it'd
be
be
sick.
so funny if mention them, it's just like, boop, it just pops up every time.
Or if it was, like, really slow panning over.
Just,
You know? Yeah. That'd be good. But shout out to Preston. I wanted to make sure I said that because I was happy to see him back out there and, looking really solid. Truman State picks up a big dub at Findlay, 20-10. We talked about Indy.
Yeah.
A couple other squads that I think are probably worth mentioning. We'll talk about some of those D2 HBCUs in just a second, but I wanted to see that Shepherd game was 27-26, Southern Connecticut. Shepherd
I knew it was close.
obviously fills a lot of holes. When you have 4 guys get invited to NFL training camps and you have the all-time
that's what's
NCAA
interesting
passing
is-
leader leave,
Is Shepherd going to have a down year? Or is Southern Connecticut really good this year?
or is it probably just a little bit
Or
of both,
a
right?
mix of both. Shepherd's trying to figure things out. I mean,
Southern Connecticut's got a little bit of a squad over there.
Maybe
The
they
Owls.
it's kind of a cool mascot.
It is kind of cool. I like it.
Wait, who are they again?
Southern Connecticut State.
Who?
Shut your Damn.
I got you on that one.
Damn, you did. You did get me on that. That's bad. Newberry with a big dub, 14-10 over Shippensburg. Obviously a defensive one in that one. And then Slippery Rock looked pretty solid. But Wayne State, we saw Wayne State, Michigan. Wayne State University was getting a little bit of hype in that preseason poll. 28-17 against Slippery Rock, who's got really skilled players across the board. They sit at 16th in the country. Wayne State hung in there with them. 28-17 is a very respectable score for that Wayne State squad.
100%.
And they get Indianapolis, if I'm not wrong. We were just talking about that. So they get Indianapolis this next week. How about Tiffin? Tiffin versus McKendree, who we've played McKendree. Respectable squad.
Last year they had
maybe not world beaters, but
last year they had an explosive offense. They
their
scored a lot
quarterback
of
was
points.
a dog.
Yeah, they scored a lot of points. They
This
averaged
year-
probably like 30 points a game last year.
they didn't score 30 this first.
No, they did not.
They scored 14, which not crazy. Tiffin, on the other hand, scored 79.
Yeah. To be honest with you, seeing that matchup, I thought it was going to be a decent game.
I think a lot of people did.
Like 79 points.
Obviously, as in a lot of people, we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Oh, yeah,
because
clearly.
That's crazy.
Clearly.
Oh, that's so wild. Let me find. I wanted to pull up. I want to get a box score from this one, dude, because I can only imagine what the numbers look like, right? In this box score,
they scored
Let's see.
79 points.
they did score 79. We
If we haven't mentioned that,
we did establish that.
there's been some. We had a team score 96,
Yeah.
a team score 79.
So quarterback here, Kason Martin, he was 17 for 25, 279 yards, 3 tuds. They had Devin Nelson was their leading rusher with 155 yards, averaged 13 a carry.
Wow.
With 2 tuds. He had a 56-yarder, looks like. Receiving-wise, they were really well split. They did not have a 100-yard receiver, and they scored 79 points.
Where'd all the points come from?
I have no idea. Jalen Thomas had 84, Josh Lewis had 79, then it goes down 43, 36, 32. Like, really
did they bring
well
in
distributed.
Did they bring him a backup quarterback and he threw a lot of touchdowns too?
They only had 2 players throw passes, and the other one was Keegan Ray. He threw one pass for 43 yards. I'm assuming that was a trick play. I don't even know if Keegan Ray is a quarterback. Yeah, that's hilarious. No, he's not a quarterback. That was his first attempt and completion, and he threw it for a 43-yard touchdown.
He should be done right there.
He probably should. Or it wasn't a touchdown, sorry, but it was 43 yards. Holy shit. Oh,
That's so that's weird. Like,
you're right. Where the hell do those points
where did they
come from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they had 1 interception returned for a touchdown. That's part of it. But you would think the offensive numbers would be so
That's
much more.
just one. They
Yeah.
have,
They
they
have
had
70
79 points. Like, where did it come from?
I don't know. All right, finally on the D2 side of things, before we go over to that conversation with Mike, Trav, we wanted to talk about the D2 HBCUs, winning over their FCS counterparts here. And we've got, go ahead.
Going back really
What you
quick,
got?
they had 6 rushing touchdowns
They did. Okay, there you go. That
But
makes
it
sense.
was split up.
Yep.
Like through a bunch of different guys. Case and Martin,
Yeah.
who was their quarterback, he had 3 attempts for -2 yards and a rushing touchdown.
That was his net, obviously, his net rushing yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. The goal line guy. You know?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at these guys, though. Bowie State, Virginia State, Central State all took dubs over FCS opponents this past week. Bowie State 22-11 over Delaware State. You have Virginia State 33-24 over Norfolk State. We're going to talk about the ending of that one here in a second. That was ridiculous. And then Central State 24-21 over Mississippi Valley. Now, again, people were saying, oh, these are bottom tier FCS teams. I don't give a shit. They're FCS teams.
Like,
they have like 65
yeah,
Division
like I
I
mentioned,
scholarships
like,
to give out.
The scholarships.
Yes.
They have double the amount of scholarships the D2 has.
Yes.
Roughly. Not quite.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a math guy, so I'm close enough.
That's all right. You are. You are close enough. These are still really quality wins for these squads. Shout out to Bowie. Shout out to VSU.
That's
shout
such a
out to
weird
Central.
score, 22-11.
Isn't it?
That's a really odd score.
Central State and Mississippi Valley actually played in Soldier Field as well.
That's cool.
That's badass. That's really cool. Like that.
Where's Mississippi Valley?
It's a great question.
Why? Because Central State's in Ohio.
Yeah.
Why would they
In
play at
SEAC.
Soldier?
But Virginia State, that game versus Norfolk State, Virginia State had a 3-point lead with 6 seconds to go. They're 4th and 7 inside their own 5-yard line. 6 seconds left. They're up by 3. The obvious choice, Trev, here, what do?
You snap the ball.
Snap the ball. Step number 1. It's good. Step. I thought you might have forgotten that one.
It's actually the best step. That's the first step. And then
And he has trouble with the snap.
and whoever you have back there, probably your quarterback, you have him
I would think
hold,
it's probably the quarterback.
you hold the ball. There's 4 seconds on the clock.
6.
6? Okay, doesn't matter. You run around side to side in the end zone, and you have the rest of your team. They hold everybody. No, this is how you do this. You know,
I
it's
like
true.
it. I like it.
You hold everybody so they can't get to them because it doesn't matter. The game's gonna end.
Now, can the game end in a penalty?
Yeah,
It can.
it can end on an offensive penalty.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
And then at the very end, when you're about to get tackled, you just step out of the end zone, and it's a safety.
Poor little Dan Orlovsky.
Well, not exactly like that. You do it on purpose. You don't do it like Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah. So that would be, in theory.
In theory, that
The
would
right
be the
play.
smartest thing to do.
In practice, however, not exactly how it happened. It says reserve quarterback Jordan Davis. He came out of the end zone on a run and failed to make it to the first down marker with time still left on the clock. So now Norfolk State gets to come on the field and they've got a field goal on, within the 10-yard line that would have tied the game. They fumbled the snap and Virginia State returned it for a touchdown to clinch a 33-24
so
win.
crazy.
Because you're like, Kobe, they're up by 3. How did they win 33-24? That's why. They fumbled the snap and returned it for a touchdown.
That might be one of the craziest endings I ever saw.
Oh, dude.
I don't think we can show the video on here.
No,
but the video is
yeah.
just crazy. Like,
Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
At the Mr. Matthew College Football has the play of it on Twitter. Just luck. I mean, you make a mistake and you're rewarded. That's crazy. It's not going to happen again.
No.
So
They could have been.
they got
more
away with
lucky.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got away with that one
Like,
for sure.
I'm
Pretty
sorry, Virginia State. What were the coaches thinking?
cool. Maybe they told him, the quarterback said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna convert this son of a bitch."
Maybe they told him just run around in the end zone until
Yeah.
the time expires.
Run around the end zone. Who do I look like?
Yeah.
I'm getting this first, and I'm gonna get up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He is also no longer part of the Virginia State football team.
Jordan Davis actually had to walk home.
He had to walk all the way back to Virginia.
That's crazy. Oh man. But that's about it for on D2 side of things. We got a little conversation here that we're gonna cut to with Mike Hohensee from Northwest Missouri State. Up next in tonight's episode, the man under center for the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats. He helped lead a comeback victory in Week 1 against Missouri Southern. This dude's thrown for over 2,000 yards the last 2 years, Trev. He is the epitome of consistency. His name, Mike Hohensee. What's going on, brother?
How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Pumped to get you on here, dude. You got a little game day or schedule poster behind you there?
Yeah, I got our schedule for this year out. One of my teammates is on it, so I'm sure he'll give me crap for having it up right now.
Well, I thought it was you, first of all. That would have been an all-time move. But also, is that one of those things where you wake up in the morning and you look at that and you're like, man, I need it.
Yeah.
Every week, need it.
Yeah, we had it up before the season started, so it's kind
Okay.
of motivation every day. So.
Either way, man, you guys didn't need the motivation. You got it done. 31-24. You get the win on the road against a tough conference opponent, which I always forget, too, MIAA. You guys hop basically right into conference play off the bat. There's no couple of out-of-conference, the easier way into things. You're thrown into the gauntlet over at Southern. Talk to me about Saturday, man.
Yeah, I mean, we started off slow offensively. We knew we just had to execute our plays. It was on us for the slow start, and once we started executing, we got our confidence and we started clicking on all cylinders offensively.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got behind. It was a good Missouri Southern team. They were well coached, but we had a good game plan coming into the week. It was just a little miscues just to start off, but we picked it up. We communicated well on the sideline, and we got things going.
Yeah, second quarter, you figured it out. You scored like 17 in that quarter alone, right?
Yeah.
What, I mean, did you just have an epiphany in the huddle, or what happened there? All of a sudden, we're just putting points up on the board.
Yeah, we had things open in the first quarter. Like I said, it was really just our own mess ups. We had a great game plan going into the week. We knew the types of coverages and the types of blitzes and defensive line stunts that we were going to get. And our O-line played great. I didn't have no sacks, barely any hurries. So if they can
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to bring that up too.
Yeah, and if they keep giving me time like that, we have enough playmakers on offense. We have a lot of depth, so we're going to be able to make plays this season.
Yeah, and it's not like they were protecting you for 15 dropbacks. You threw the ball 39 times, Mike. They had you slinging the thing out there. By the way, too, knock on, this is drywall, but wood, taking good care of the ball, too. No giveaways for you, which when you're throwing the ball 40 times a game is extremely impressive. Your run game, though, having a day as well. Jay Harris had over 130 and 2 tuds. So right now, you guys looking like one of the more balanced offenses in Division II. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, during our scrimmage game the week before the season, we actually had our starting 2 running backs go down with injuries.
You're kidding.
So Jay Harris, coming off his first year last year, had a lot of confidence coming into this year. Yeah. Last year, he kind of eased his way into things, and this year he's looking confident. So we had a few backs step up for us. And like I said, our line, not only were they protecting, but they're making great running holes for us as well. And anytime we can have that balanced attack on offense, it's hard to game plan for us.
Oh, it is, for sure. And we were just talking about Grand Valley, who, some of the biggest question marks for them, they lose their top 2 pass catchers, one of their best players in their defensive secondary. And then the question always is, how do you reload? And when you are a Northwest Missouri State, a Grand Valley State, and you're in that upper echelon of team in that category, you've got guys. Like, you've got guys in the roster. I think people forget that. Like, every dude on that roster is talented. There's no one there that is necessarily a weak link. You've just got more star-studded dudes ahead of each one of them. So definitely don't want to have that overlooked. But Southern's defense, you already said it. They didn't notch a single sack. They actually only had 2 tackles for loss on the whole day. And you guys, too, your time of possession was 34 minutes to 20 minutes for Southern. Like, you guys possessed the rock almost the entire day. They had their chances to get things done. You guys prevented them from doing that. What do you chalk that up to, having a clean jersey, we'll say, at the end of this one?
Yeah, I think we had a couple 8-minute drives in there. I think our last go-ahead drive, I think we got the ball with a little over 10 minutes left, and we gave it back to them with 2 minutes left. So anytime you could do that and keep the defense off the field, it will always be good for the Bearcats. And as far as the turnovers go, we know we have a great defense. We've always had a great defense every year. So if we can limit the turnovers, we can be in any game.
Absolutely, man. Trev, how do we feel? Offensive line, 8-minute drives. What do we think?
If we could get an 8-minute drive every time, I'd be happy.
You'd be happy about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call it a 4-minute offense normally.
Yeah.
They expect 4 minutes, not 8 minutes. Jeez.
Yeah, it's almost like a triple option team, the way we kind of held on to the ball like that. So it was good.
I love it. Well, maybe if you keep flirting around with 300 yards passing, they might not snub you off another Flow football quarterback list.
Hey, that really doesn't matter. I'm just looking forward to
good
getting
answer,
wins,
Mike.
you know?
Good answer, Mike. That's good. No, you're gonna earn it, man, and you've got another great chance this week to do just that. Next up, Emporia State. Talk about a high-powered offense. These guys are led by a man who was on that list, and a offense that does it on all cylinders, just like you guys. They just beat the brakes off of Lincoln this past week. Gave you guys a hell of a game last year as well. It's been very competitive. What are you expecting from the Hornets moving forward, man?
Yeah, I mean, their offense, obviously they pass the ball a lot. They got a good quarterback there. There's a few good quarterbacks in the MIAA.
Yep.
But, yeah, they got a good quarterback down there. They pass the ball a lot. Defensively, they got three down front. They like to drop 8 a lot. They bring a lot of blitzes, a lot of stunts. So we're really just focusing, watching film from their Lincoln game, watching film from last year, trying to see what their tendencies are. And I think Coach Sturdy put another great game plan together for us. So right now we're just trying to hone in on that.
Yeah. Good, man. That's all the real crazy football talk I got for you. Although I will say, we haven't had anyone on from Northwest yet. What's up with the Built? Is it the Built Power Protein or whatever you guys got over there? That deal? Yeah, you're not. Okay, tell me about that, man, because that looked legit. I remember seeing that on Twitter a while back.
Yeah, Built Bar.
Yeah, that's it. No free shout-outs, but shout-out to Built Bar, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we get Built Bars like after our lifts or after games and stuff like that. They're all just set out for us. So I think we get a new shipment in every 6 months. There's like the normal Built Bars, and they got the Puff Bars. I think the Puff Bars are legit. Those are my favorite. So it's always nice to be able to come in from practice or right after a lift and have that recovery ready for it.
I love that, dude. That pinned video on your guys' Twitter is just the facility preview too. I mean, when you guys make the runs that you have every year, like, it makes sense that you've got those facilities. But man, football over there, is that just like, that's it? Like that football squad over at that school. I can't say I've followed. I feel like your other athletics do have some really great postseason runs as well. Like men's basketball, I feel like is always in the conversation too over there.
Yeah, I mean, our basketball team, I think, has won the national championship 5 times in the past 10 years, something like that, something crazy like that. Yeah, we're a powerhouse. We just got a dude signed a 2-way contract for the Rockets, G League and the Rockets. His name's Trevor Hudgens. He's pretty legit there too. Okay. You can look him up. I think they just posted something. They call him like the step back king.
Okay.
Over there. So yeah. All of our sports be doing good over here. You know,
I love it.
Maryville's a small town, but they're very supportive. We got a great community out here, and when it's a small town, you know, there's not much to do other than sports. So we really focus in on that. And summer is huge for us too. If you come here during the summer, we got every sport here working. So yeah, we really devote time in the summer. We think that's what sets us apart.
Can we catch you in the pickup courts over the summer, Mike, or no?
Oh, of course.
Trevor and I just watched White Men Can't Jump last night, actually. Matter of fact.
We did.
Yeah, I'd say I can jump a little bit, but, you know.
A little bit?
Yeah, and it's always nice getting pickup games on a national championship court. So.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome, dude. Mike, I told you it'd be relatively brief. It'd be painless tonight. That's all I got for you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see you boys. I mean, like we said, this week's going to be a test for you. You're going to have a lot more down the road. If anyone's prepared for it, it's going to be y'all, man. Thank you so much, dude.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. Have a good one, Mike. Back at it. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate him talking a little ball with us. Maybe we'll get him on a list here. Maybe we'll make our own list, and we'll put Mike on it. What do you think? So he gets included.
We should. He just really wants to be on a list.
Top 10 Mikes in D2 football.
He might. Right now, he's like number 1.
He's got to be up there.
I mean,
dude threw for like 280.
Yeah.
39 attempts, no interceptions. It's good.
Great job, Mike.
It's a lot of throwing the ball, throwing to the pigskin.
That
but
is.
We're going to transition and talk about some D3. And I think the biggest news, Trevor, in D3 football this last week, that was River Falls and their absolute beatdown they put on UMHB, that being Mary Hardin Baylor. 45-22. The Falcons, man. The River Falcons? I don't know.
River Falls
Falcons. That's what it is.
It's just kind of like a tongue twister.
It is, dude.
Whoever made them the Falcons should have thought about that.
But you and I talked the week prior.
I want to apologize to the River Falls Falcons, because me and Kobe the other day, we were talking like, you know, River Falls is getting a lot of hype, and I really wonder if they're going to live up to the hype. Like, who knows? Like, it just seems like it's a lot of hype for. That's basically what I said. Like, I didn't know. Basically, yeah. I messed up. I owe you an apology. You're not overrated. And I should be one of those receipts, like a Deion Sanders says. You should write this down as one of the receipts.
Perfect. I mean, that's fucking awesome, dude. I love that. But yeah, you and I were talking, like, I didn't know they were going to come out and have this kind of performance. But River Falls is a squad that had a ton of hype coming into this year, and some people had questioned whether or not that was warranted. Maybe you being one of the naysayers, but
I definitely was.
Yeah,
but I was wrong.
But it's just like you just don't know until they take the field. So it's like even the people who were saying they were going to be like they didn't know, like you don't know.
No.
Sometimes, even in the NFL, like when you have professionals and you have the extensive coverage on each individual position and transaction, you can get such a better idea formulated heading into week 1. You still don't know because they have to actually play.
Exactly.
When it comes to D3, it's really hard. D2 even, and
you
all that stuff.
You can look at it like from the NBA, like all these like super teams, like, oh, they're going to be like...
on paper, right?
Like the Nets a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're going to be great. Like they're going to win it all.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work out.
A bright spot for, is it the Crusaders, I believe?
I believe it is.
Their rushing attack. Trev, guess how many, in a loss, how many yards they have rushing?
150.
-5, actually.
Oh, you worded it like they didn't.
-5.
Why'd you do me like that? You worded it like, oh, they still had a really good rushing attack.
Yeah, they averaged
-5 total rushing. How many
attempts? You want to guess that one too?
20.
38.
Oh my.
Dude, what does that front seven for River Falls look like?
Also, at a certain point, if I'm Marion and Baylor, wouldn't you give up on the run game?
38 attempts?
Maybe after like 20 when I'm in the negatives, like, maybe we should throw the ball.
They threw for 244. Even then, we're not extremely efficient. But, man, that is just tough, dude. The rushing attack for River Falls, they didn't even rush for 100 yards, and they had 57 attempts. Trevor, 57 attempts, they didn't rush for 100 yards.
57 attempts, and they didn't rush for 100 yards.
Yeah, now 28 of them came from their quarterback, Caleb Blaha, and he ran for 52 and 2 touchdowns, but that's on 28 attempts. He averaged less than 2 yards per carry. I don't know if it's the playing surface. This was at River Falls. This wasn't down in Texas.
Are they playing on ice?
I don't know, man. These stats are just very interesting, dude. UMHB had 3 different quarterbacks in the game. Jackson Tingler, Isaac Fee, and Landon Howell. Each of them threw for over 10 different times. So just trying to figure some things out, I guess.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Maybe they should focus on blocking.
Yeah. River Falls was 7 sacks in the day. That helps you out a lot.
Well, that helps with the negative rushing.
Yes, absolutely. Because when I say -5, obviously
it's the total,
Yeah, it's the net. Obviously, they rushed for more than -5 yards. But when you take all of the positive minus all the sacks and take that into account, then it becomes that number. So we can probably actually find... I don't know if we can find that. Yeah, we had... looks like 6 different guys on River Falls roster, accounted for a sack, which is really crazy. That's a really good spread. Like, there's not one guy on this list that really jumps out. A couple different guys had some solid TFLs. Drew Han is one with 5 tackles. They're
going to be a good team this year. I've been saying that.
But that's the thing. Like, a really good spread. We talked about it with UTB. Like, they didn't have a receiver over 50 yards. And, they put up 40-plus points. You look at 50 yards, 47, 46, 43. Dude, that's your top 4. Like, that's a really even distribution. And then it goes 34, 29, 16. Like, they're getting the ball around to a bunch of different playmakers. Their rushing attack is absolutely the same way, even though they didn't have a ton of success on the ground. This team's going to be very, very interesting, man. I think that's the biggest story out of week 1, right?
As Jimmy Martin says, the WEAC, man.
The WEAC.
The WEAC.
Yeah, they've got a couple out-of-conference games before they start that WEAC play. They go Ohio Wesleyan and then Northwestern, which they might roll both those teams. I'm not really sure how that's going to go.
What they did I keep saying yesterday, and it's
Saturday. Yeah, it's hard. I get you.
But considering what they did on Saturday,
yeah,
they're probably going to roll those teams.
On the contrary, UMHB does not get a break before they start ASC conference play. Trevor, the next 2 weeks, they're on the road at number 5 Trinity, who just lost in a double overtime throw to St. John's. Talk about that in a little bit. And then they go, and they're at home at least, but they've got Whitewater coming to town. That might be the hardest gauntlet of 3 weeks that you could possibly imagine in D3 football.
Didn't we mentioned this a couple weeks ago?
We did, and now it just seems even worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thought River Falls is going to be the easiest out of those couple games.
And they probably should have been, but now, who knows?
Yeah.
Looking at it on paper,
I've known the whole time, though, that River Falls is a very good team. Kind of like LeBron. Like LeBron already knew.
I was about to pull up another little meme. I already got one meme on you today. I can't do 2 in a row, dude. Other big-time scores. I guess we can go right over and talk about that Trinity game a little bit, because that one was a really big-time one. We have other ones to highlight as well. But St. John's ends up winning this one, OT, 34-31. And that's at home for St. John's, too, by the way. So Trinity had to fly up from Texas. I'm assuming they flew for that one.
I would hope so.
And looking at the stats on this, we talked about Tucker Horn, excuse me. This guy's going to be in the conversation for the Gagliardi Trophy, and if he's not after this week, I don't know when he will be. Trevor, 28 for 33.
Oh, my God.
For 352 yards, 2 tuds, no interceptions.
That's efficient.
And he lost.
Yeah, that's crazy. But, I mean,
Really incredible stat line.
it just seems like it was a great game.
It was.
It went
It
to
absolutely
overtime,
was. Yeah.
That was just one of those kind of like a heartbreaker for him.
Quarterback for St. John's, 24 for 33, Aaron Syverson. 280 yards, 4 tuds, no picks.
That's some good quarterback play in that game.
Dude, this game had to have been insane. Excuse me, I didn't really get to watch it. It's hard to, you know what I mean? It's hard to watch all this stuff. But, the rushing attack pretty balanced, too.
We only have 2 eyes. We can't watch every game.
2 eyes apiece, man. It's tough. It's freaking tough. Again, though, the rushing attack, 65 yards total for Trinity, 87 for St. John's. It was all through the air. Like, both of their attacks are very predominantly, passing attack. I don't know if I'd say air raid style, but
it's kind of weird. A lot of the teams that were recapping have been very air raid.
Recrapping.
Never mind.
Big time.
Teams not rushing well.
There you go.
In
There you go.
games we recap.
You got it. You got it. Again, another team that spreads the ball out really well. Will Taylor, their leading receiver, 84 yards on 5 catches. Then you go Cole Bonago with 74, Ryan Merrifield with 57, Caleb Crawford, 45, Vince Hutchinson, 36. They're not having, it's not one guy. Like, they're having to cover everybody. And, I think
that makes it so much harder for teams.
Yes.
In my opinion.
And I think the best takeaway from that is, I'm sure these receivers are very talented. It's the quarterback that is 100%. Making these guys have these numbers. Tucker Horn is just, I'm assuming, looking at this, just playing out of his mind, because he is getting the ball to people in space, and they're making plays, man. And each of these guys has a long of, like, this guy 37, 29, 23, 21. So these aren't all dink and dunks. Like, they're taking shots, and they're getting it with more than one person. Not every one of these guys is going to have extreme burners up the sideline. So, like, he's throwing them open and making good plays. That's huge. Big time. So, yeah, I mean, if you're Trinity, obviously not the way you're going to start, but again, looking at games like this, there's just not bad takeaways you can have from a loss like that in overtime.
My takeaway is
quality St. John's team.
Both of those teams deserve to be 4-6 in the nation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was just a great game.
Yeah, and so then obviously they host Mary Hardin Baylor this next week. That one's going to be Mary Hardin Baylor bounce back. Like, they're a squad they're gonna have to bounce back. They will. That one will be very interesting. Let's move on. Let's go number 11 Whitewater at number 17 John Carroll. Whitewater wins this one late, 27-23.
I didn't realize
for the Warhawks.
I just totally missed that. I didn't realize how close of a game that was.
It was an absolutely great game. And I think that goes to show, too, like, looking at the rankings, shout out to, like, D2 Football, D3Football.com, like, those guys, they've ranked these teams really well for the most part. You know what I mean?
Besides River Falls, like, I've been saying how legit they are. They should not be 23. They should be way higher.
Yeah. Sure you have. But Whitewater, obviously a decent amount of question marks coming into this year, and I think it wasn't so much question marks around Whitewater as it was a lot of hype around other squads. When you look at teams like La Crosse, teams like River Falls, even a squad like Oshkosh now that are, like, really producing.
Platteville's getting a lot of talk, too. Like, the whole...
Well, they just put up, like, 80 points, didn't they?
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Rip Lakeland.
Rip, dude. Damn. The Muskies, too.
Yeah.
Dope-ass name.
Not their mascot's not the cool Muskie, though.
No, that's Muskingum.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the question marks around Whitewater, not necessarily around their team specifically. It's about the other WEAC teams just being so strong. So great to see that this is still a Whitewater team that can compete in that conference and,
100%.
more importantly, compete when it comes to playoffs potentially as we continue to move forward. The last one here, kind of a surprise. Delaware Valley, Cortland University. Delaware, number 10 at number 17, SUNY Cortland. They got the bad end of the stick on this one. Cortland wins it big time, 42-13, shuts down the Aggies' offense. Our guy Louis Barrios, not the day
who doesn't get shut down very often.
No, he does not. He's a dual threat guy, has a lot of skills. Technically, 11 for 19, 85 yards. He did have an interception. Tough, man. Like a tough day, and it wasn't just him. Like they brought in a couple other guys. Looks like here threw a couple passes. They just could not get anything going offensively. The rushing attack for them really wasn't having it. There's a couple big plays here. It looks like Dylan Shimano at a 52-yard catch. Like there's a couple decent plays for the Aggies, but at the end of the day, their offense just was not having it. I wanted to see here the time of possession. I feel like
one of Delaware Valley's touchdowns was it was obviously like a trick play.
Yeah, because the one throw right there for that. What's his name?
Rob McConnell.
Okay, gotcha.
He's 1 for 1 for 39 yards and a touchdown.
A couple stats here. Third down for the Aggies, they were 2 for 11. That's tough. I mean, you're not going to sustain drives.
You're not going to win too often.
No.
2 for 11.
Not good. Not good at all.
But
fourth downs, they're 1 for 3.
Is Cortland's quarterback was 12 for 22 for 135, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, and he got sacked 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
But they did run for 306 yards. So
that helps.
That usually helps a lot. And they had 4 rushing touchdowns.
Cortland did not punt the entire game.
That also really helps.
Damn. That's pretty wild. And they did recover a fumble from DVU, so that was a big part of it too. Turnovers certainly played. If we talked about the interception earlier, and then to have a fumble turnover, that is those are things you just can't do when you're playing a team like Cortland.
I'm looking at the punting. Joseph Martin, he had 4 punts for 74 yards and a net average of 18.
Okay,
he might have got 1 blocked.
Yeah, because the 18
would
suggest that. Correct.
Oh no, never mind. His long was 27, so.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
We might be doing a walk-on tryout over there, it sounds like, at the punter position.
Joe. And then
Sorry, Joe.
Their other punter was 2 for 48 yards and a net of an average of 24 yards. So. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I guess the last one I would mention here, Ithaca at hosting, Ithaca at number 18, Johns Hopkins. They end up losing that one. Johns Hopkins comes out on top, 27-17. That's a big win for those guys over there. For a lot of people saying they're a lacrosse school. Been hearing that one quite a bit. So, big time for them. We talked about the WEAC a little bit. Here's a stat. We got a couple more little pieces here before we wrap up. Kobe Berghammer from UW Oshkosh had a fucking day, Trev. School record for most touchdown passes in a single game. He threw 7 of them bitches. 48-31 win over Texas Lutheran. Tony Steger, their wide receiver, also had a career day. 3 tuds, 144 yards receiving. They're back at Wheaton this weekend. Man.
That's impressive.
Very impressive. Shout out Kobe. He's got a good name, man. Good, strong name. Spelled the same, too.
Spells it like you, too.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
Absolute dog.
He's a dog. Shit, we saw him play up here.
We did.
He came up here and played. He's a dog.
He's a good football.
Shout out to Kobe. Player. That's a huge stat. Now, finally, Trevor. We can throw him up, man. Jim Harbaugh.
Rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace. Michigan football doing their best to honor him in this very difficult time this weekend. With the proceedings here, you can see, and just really a touching tribute to someone who was a great man in the coaching world and has profoundly impacted a lot of really prominent young men.
Yep.
He's dead, right?
No.
Oh.
He has a suspension.
Oh, from the NCAA.
No, Kobe. Self-imposed from the University of Michigan. Does Michigan football just want everyone to hate them? If you're not a Michigan fan, you just want everyone else to hate you. Because this is ridiculous. This is the most corny thing I've ever seen. And JJ McCarthy's shirt.
I can't say the name right.
I'm so mad.
He's fuming.
Free Harbaugh? He's not in jail. He's not in jail. He can go to practice too. He's not there on the sidelines.
He can?
Yes, he can be in every practice. So he's not even doing anything. It's not even that's barely a suspension.
There it is.
Look at that. This is a joke. This is why everyone hates Michigan, but Michigan fans. Like, come on.
Hey, free my boy. He ain't do nothing. All right? He ain't do nothing. He gave him a cheeseburger,
is the
right?
Suspension stupid. I completely agree it's stupid, but also you're playing 3 bum squads compared to the University of Michigan. He gets to just watch it on TV and be a normal person for once.
Can he not be in the stadium?
I don't think so. He might be able to be in the stadium for all I know.
Yeah.
He could just be in the first row of the stands.
Oh, chump teams. They got UNLV and Bowling Green both coming to their place the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, it should have been a 30-0 game too. Didn't East Carolina kick a last-minute field goal just to get points on the board? They definitely ruined someone's spread.
Jim Harbaugh's probably like in the first row of stands, and he has like the glasses on with the fake mustache, with his hood up, and he's still just coaching.
Headset.
He has a headset.
Yeah,
tucked
he's
in
plugged
there.
into JJ.
Yeah, but free him.
There he is.
God, what a clown!
But he donates to the kids, Trev. He gives to charity, Trev.
Good for him, but he's a clown still.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
You can be a clown and still be a good
human.
a decent human.
Yeah.
But you're a clown. Like, what is he doing?
That is the craziest thing, is that it is a self-imposed suspension, and now it's free Harbaugh.
And I just don't get it, because like I know it's a dumb, it was dumb.
Yeah. It's the whole cheeseburger thing, right?
Yeah. It's totally dumb. I agree with that, but
it's a principle thing.
But why do all this? It's 3 games. He can be there at practice. All he has to do, he's not going to be there on the sidelines. You know, the grand scheme of thing, a head coach shouldn't do that much game day.
Technically, because if assuming you're not doing offensive or defensive play calling,
which he doesn't.
It's more about timeout calling, maybe gutsy decisions on 4th downs, things like that, like certain points in the game. But you're right.
Your head coach shouldn't have to do much on game day.
It's about the preparation and getting the pieces in place to perform.
And frankly, how much preparation do they even have to do the next 3 weeks? The next couple weeks?
That's a great point.
It's just
is his dad coaching one of the games? Right?
I didn't even see that.
I'm pretty sure they announced we got time to look at it. Let's see. I'm pretty sure they announced who would be coaching the next couple games for Michigan.
John's coming from the Ravens, I heard.
He's coming. Brother's coming over.
I actually what's crazy is
he's awesome.
I actually really like John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You can't tell I'm not a big Jim Harbaugh fan.
You'd be surprised if you told me that. I need to find it. But they made a graphic letting people know who would be coaching the next couple weeks. And I think it's worth at least looking at, because it is just, I want to see, dude, people were blowing up that tweet too, dude. People freaking love that tweet, throwing the 4s up for the head honcho. People love that shit.
So stupid.
People love that shit.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to Jimmy, man. Let me find this. I want to find this graphic before we wrap, because I just want to know. It's one of those things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know how you are, Kobe.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure one of them was his dad. Here it is. Coach Harbaugh announced his coaching duties for the first games of 2023. Here we are, Trev. And if it would load, there we go. Take a peep. Mintner gets the dub versus ECU. And then Jay Harbaugh and Mike Hart, I believe, are going halves, right? First half and second half there versus UNLV. So sorry, not his dad. Sorry, Jay. I don't know why I thought dad. I just knew another
brother.
Harbaugh. Don't know. He's young. And then Moore gets the nod versus Bowling Green. Don't love the graphic design options been going on for Michigan here, though.
No, that's his son.
That's his son, Jay?
Yeah. That's what you're thinking that Jim's.
Okay. Maybe, yeah.
You
I'm just
had
thinking
something
backwards.
going there,
I was
yeah.
thinking backwards there. But there you go. Hey.
But just rip Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, we can't end on that note. Rest in peace. Thank you for listening. It's been Division I Rejects.